please welcome to the stage Ariel Costa.
Come on, guys. So many great speakings tonight. Like at Wes, Lou, all those eye-opening, speeches from Amanda, my dear Amanda, good friend, Bean, Joe, and here I am with this guy taking a shit. Haha, life is funny sometimes. Okay, so let's do this. I promise we're going to have some fun, and let's see it. So for those who don't know me, my name is Ariel. Just to break the ice, And I've been working in the industry for almost 15 years now. And I put together some cool thoughts and in a very deep level about AI and yeah, that's back to the next topic. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, I've been working in the industry for 15 years now. My main references for the work, it's marginal art, graffiti. I love punk art, skate, and Terry Gilliam was one of my main references. If you guys don't know this guy, you should know this guy, please, because he's like I love his work. I love his work. And a mix of everything. It's how I would describe my work. I try not to have a particular style, but for some reason I ended up going heavily in collage, which I love. And I think if you love something very much, and if you keep doing, that becomes your thing. But I'm not ashamed of that. I kind of love it, And visually, how can I describe my work? So let's say my work is weird, okay? It's distorted sometimes. It tends to be fun, colorful, raw. I understand today, my work is not for everybody. So I do my stuff not thinking, okay, Google is going to call me anytime. I'm going to do something for them, or Apple, or something, I'm really aware of that, and I'm okay, After 15 years working and trying to do, I just want to have fun with my stuff, I don't want to take things very serious in a way that, things stop being fun and we just do, pushing frames and pixel fucking here and there and just doing stuff, So, but luckily, I found my niche in a way, and where my work can be more useful, let's say, and be more helpful to brands or to other artists to express their intention, And I found my niche, especially in the beginning, in the music industry, where I was able to produce projects for music videos for... Thank you. Yeah, those are my favorite ones. I love it. Yeah. For those who worked with music videos, it's mostly like a personal project because they pay nothing to shit, But it's really fun to be part of a project like these, and you have no constraints. You can create something that is really interesting. But in cases like for the Led Zeppelin, it turned out to be a really, let's say, heavy-lifting work, because although the band, they're not together anymore, and that was for a reason, some of the members, they don't get along very well, and to make this piece really hard, because they had different opinions, and we got into a point that I'm not going to tell names, but you probably know. But like, but like one guy doesn't need to be in the next shot, like this close. So we have to put a shot in between. So things like that tend to be a little bit intense. Anyways, it was fun anyway. So this is me, another child photo, Well, how cute I was. I was born in Brazil. A lot of Brazilians in there. Yeah, so Brazil is it's a nice country, but I just want to point it out that the capital of Brazil is Brasilia and not Buenos Aires. And a lot of people, they talk to me a lot, and we speak Portuguese. We don't speak Spanish or Brazilian, just so you know. And it is a very rich country in terms of culture. We have this beautiful culture that goes. It's like I was having this conversation earlier today that it looks like Brazil. It feels like Brazil. It's a larger country that has a bunch of different little countries inside of it. So there's its own culture. Even like each city has its own culture, and it's a beautiful place. Okay. Yeah, that's what I said. Just forgot to put this slide. I have ADHD, so I'm going to forget to put some slides because I have to do one thing at a time. So, okay, cool. So I particularly was born in São Paulo. It's a beautiful city. Again, São Paulo is the fifth largest city in the world. It's a huge city, and it's full of art, poetry, culture. It's a beautiful city, And here's some of my favorite that we can see, like, when you go in Brazil, you see a bunch of graffitis. This is not Photoshop. This is really our piece of art. These are artists. His name is Cobra. You guys should follow him. And this is most like hyped one, the Gêmeos. Os Gêmeos. They are very, they have like this unique style in Brazil. And this is like part of their exposition in Brazil. They graffiti this building and they created that top part to be part of the thing. So it's beautiful. I love it. You get so much inspiration just by walking on streets. It's amazing. Cool. And a little bit about my career. During my career, I was able to work for several studios. I worked a lot. But apparently, I was not good enough for Dash because they never called me. So, okay. I'll try to improve, Dash. I'll try to improve, okay? Okay, so later on, after I was in my career solo, just doing animation and play around with studios and get to know people here and there, I decided to become something more than just like an animator. I wanted to create solutions for my clients. I don't want to be like a tool anymore, And it's nothing wrong with that. It's just something that I wanted to do, create, explore my voice and try meaningful ways to spread the message around in my unique way. And that's when I create this brand, the BlinkMyBrain. BlinkMyBrain, basically, it's a studio, but not. I am a one-man band that I can provide services to my clients. And if the project demands me to grow in scale and hire people to help me out, put out the projects, I can do that. Or I can tackle by myself, So it's just like a brand to make the client understand that it's not just like a man doing this crazy stuff by himself, I can adapt according to the client needs. So that's why I decided to create that. And along this career, I was able to play around and create some cool stuff for different people. And I'm really lucky to have some of these clients that trust me with their brand. It was super fun. Yeah, looking back now, it was super cool. So okay, So getting along in the game, we're all playing the same game here. We are in the industry of animation, design. It's very tough. It's a business like any other business. People say, like when you go to the family parties and your aunt asks you, "What do you do?" "I work with illustration." "Oh, how cute!" But no, that's fucking hard. Like you have to pay the bills with doing the cute illustration, it's hard, So, but before we go there, let's rewind a little bit back in the time. 2004, it's when I graduated from school. I did media arts, and I started this career very young. I was very eager to produce stuff. I wanted to make and create content. I wanted to put out my voice and try to create art in a way, because I always loved the art aspect of life, especially illustration. I wanted to become a comic book artist, and this is me at age 12. Take that, Wes. This is Witchblade, from comic books, back in the days, and as I was telling about the Terry Gilliam became when I was introduced and watched some Monty Python movies, all these frames. It's very weird in a good way, because it was not traditional. That's what I love about it, because he did his own thing without the concern of, I'm going to do something weird, but it's not going to be in a high. He didn't care about that. He did something that he believed it was art, and he created something that it's really singular, How come you're not like this, It's fun. It's fun. So he was the guy, And I was trying to experiment with collage stuff, and do this to play around and just be goofing around and try to have fun. Cool. And so when I started to do collage, it was because of Terry Gilliam. I was creating that back in the day. I was a kid just trying to create, G.I. Joes made out of magazine papers, and I don't have those. Unfortunately, I don't have those pictures, but it was my way to play. I'm a single child. I didn't have any brothers, and I live in a place there was not kids around, and I was creating my characters and playing around, and that created to me a very special feeling with the the photo collage and old magazines and stuff like that. So that's cool. And I started to work in this company. It's a publisher. I was internee there, and they did a lot of. I was doing a bunch of little Photoshop. That was later on. I was maybe 17, 16 years old. I was working at this small publisher in downtown São Paulo. And I was just restoring some pictures for this kid's book. And then a friend of mine showed me this website. If you know this website, you are really old, If you don't, I feel sorry for you, because this was one of the best websites for reference in motion graphics that ever existed, because it was not curated in a way, it was featuring a bunch of content in there, and they have, of course, it was the way to be featured in this website was they put the best video of the month, and they would highlight it somewhere. I couldn't find a better picture, but basically this particular website was something unique, and it was very inspirational. It inspired me a lot, And once I found out that there were people in the world grabbing these illustrations and putting together, I told myself, I want to do this, motion graphics. It was not even called motion graphics at the time. I don't think so, at least not for me. But I wanted to create something like this, like something like people like this. So I was very eager to create a project that looked very, very badass, like Batman, And I ended up working hard hours. I found clients. I found my niche. I started to working with people in the industry, and I worked really, really hard. I was young, but I developed, again, like this is a burst blood vessel because I was in front of the computer all the time, trying to learn, trying to be the best for myself and creating that, And I was putting all this hard work out there, but suddenly, boom, I faced clients, And the clients, I don't know if you guys remember, but I wanted to do this, right? Oops, sorry. To do this. And when I passed through these and finally faced the client, I ended up doing this. I don't know. And, yeah. That's part of the game, So I felt like stepped on the client's shoes, and I felt like the client was a barrier for me to create something that I wanted to create. I felt down, I felt depressed, anxiety. I thought a lot of times, is it me the problem? I'm not doing right. I'm not proposing something that the client needs. They don't want to be cool. I want to be cool, But my ideas were getting rejected all the time. I learned what peachy was, If you guys are in the industry, like peaches are, this own thing, So I came for this street background, like punk art, graffiti, skate world. And for those who are part of this world, you understand that it's more about anarchy, It's more about creating something, expressing yourself. But when you try to apply that into a client project, sometimes that's not the case. You have to obey some rules, And that was really hard for me to understand that at first. Because we tend to express ourselves instead of talking, because we're very sensitive people, Yeah. And here's the meaningful part of the talk. So it's anxiety, depression. It's something that is really heavy and it's real in our industry. I have anxiety until this day. I'm not ashamed to talk about this. It's a condition. It could be genetic. It could be part of the problems that we face daily, and that is a problem that we need to talk about, And a lot of people, they feel ashamed to ask for help or to ask for, or to just to have like a conversation. And because, like the industry that we do, we just want to express ourselves. And sometimes if we're not doing what we really want to do, we feel constrained, and we feel tight. And that brings us down, that brings us to the ground. And sometimes we don't know, we don't understand why. And it took me a long time for me to understand what's going on, and why I was feeling that way about projects, And how did I ended up managing this situation? I put in my mind, design versus art. And what I'm about to say, it's not like a rule or anything, but it's something that works for me. It's like my mantra. And that's the way that I like to split the difference, okay? So, for design, for example. Design, the way that I see it, it's a client work, It's to express what the client needs. It's to send a message, You have to organize your ideas in a visual way to send the message that the client, not you, the client needs to send out, okay? And as a professional, it's our job to understand that and to give the client the solution to create that. So you're not going to, like in the beginning, you're not going to do like a Pepsi commercial and do like a guy naked with the dick out and with a it doesn't work this way, And some elements of art, of course, can be introduced in the design, and sometimes it's very welcome, You have to push sometimes the client so they can see beyond their box, because we're dealing with people that the majority of the time they don't know what they're looking for. They're hiring us to understand the problem and to solve this problem for them visually speaking. Okay? And this is one piece that I want to share with you guys for a client. Okay? There's some elements that was introduced here that is more fun, but the overall, we'll talk about later. Let's see it first. So this was made for, thank you. This is a very editorial piece. It was made for the master class, It's very contained, although we had some fun moments in the beginning. Nothing is out of range. It still serves the purpose. It's still part of the same, language that we want to establish. And, so this is a work for client. But now, when you go to art, art for me is when I focus my energy for personal projects, to do my work, to put it out, like it's catharsis. It's mostly no rules, and it's the best way for me, the best way that I found to learn new tools, to learn new skills, to play around. I'm a very heavy After Effects guy. I have no 3D skills whatsoever, but I force myself when I'm doing personal projects to get out of my comfort zone and try to learn something new. Even if I don't use it in the right way, it's for me, so it's cool. And elements of design, of course, can be introduced here because we can also send a message, we can rearrange stuff here and make it beautiful, so, but this is more like a no-rule situation. So the next it's like a sample of a personal project. So this is you guys saw the difference, right? I don't need to talk more about. So, like, first one, we have rules to obey. We still need a mission. We have a mission to send this a message to the client. And second one, no rules. Just have fun, enjoy. Play around, and But it's really important to keep the both worlds apart, and if you find a way so they can coexist, explore. Okay, and that was like a huge thing for me when I split it, because art can be really fun. It can be the way you express yourself, and it's amazing. And design can be interesting, But it's interesting, really, because to me, I ended up seeing client projects in a different way. Once I shifted my vision to that Now I don't see the client as my enemy, but I see them as my ally, and we play along together. And once I started to understand the meaning of having a client, it was amazing, because I found fun things to do in a personal project, in a client project. And one is like the challenge, the first one, it's like the client has a problem and it needs to be solved. So, okay, let's do this, like it's a challenge, it's a motivation for you to go out there and create the best thing you can do for the client, coming up with ideas, solutions, and that's, and of course, being part of something in a larger scale, that could be really interesting too. Yeah, it's really cool. And how to live in a commercial industry, because that's the way that you make money, probably, So I created three points that I want to share with you. Again, it's those are little things that I put together until I found my piece, And the first one is don't take notes on a personal level. They're not trying to, hurt you or anything. Clients will always ask to make the logo bigger. That's the thing. Clients have their goals, and sometimes they don't know how to articulate those goals because they're not part of the industry. So that's part of us to understand that and try to create something for them. Okay. Rejection is going to be your new friend, okay, because you're going to put out a lot of solutions for the client, but the majority of them is not going to be enough for them to solve their problem. So part of our job is to try, fail, until eventually we get something that it's interesting for the client and we can put out. Everyone is it's happy at the end. And there will be another day, and there's always a director cut. So if the client do shit, we can always fix in our cut. Okay, if you're very attached to the project. Okay, so I want to share with you guys an example. It is a project that I cannot reveal the name. I cannot. You see some frames that they are blurry because I have no authorization to show, but it's a good example that I want to share with you guys. Last year I worked with this company, lovely people, and they called me to co-direct an open title for a show, Prime Video. And I worked during 3 months in this show, developing frames, developing ideas, and I'm going to pass quickly. These are some of the frames. Of course, you'll not be able to recognize, but every single square here, it's a frame. Okay, just so you understand how many frames I did. Okay, and it ended up like 516 frames that was just trashed. And they're never going to see the light of the day because we're not allowed by contract to show or apply these ideas to something else. 27 motion tests that were just trash, and we developed tools and different ways to show. It was very complex idea. And those are just mine part, mine design, mine motion test. I animated this 27 and did this 16, actually 17 because the client wants the logo bigger. And I developed, that was just me, and was three other designers working on that they did something similar to this number. So imagine how many trash we make digitally for clients. So it is part of the game. It's sad, but it's part. And those are some of the ideas that we consider the ideal, and they ended up going to a different direction that eventually we also come up with a solution for that, but it was something that we were not planning to do something like that, and Of course, we're happy with the results and everything, but it could be better, you know. You always can be better. So pitches, they are another example of that, you know. Sometimes you work a lot. You put a lot of work days into your work to sell the idea to the client. And it's even, I would say, it's more hurtful if you think about that, because you're trying to create something different for the client, and out of blue, the client decides to go to a different direction. It doesn't mean that the direction that the client wants to go, it's better or worse. It's just the idea that applies better to the client's idea. So once I learned that too, I'm okay in losing pitches, you know, because maybe I like the studio B did something that was more aligned with the client's vision. So cool. And that's why I try to not taking my work too serious, but not in a bad way speaking. I try just to have fun with my work, because the industry it's already tough, and I just wanted to create something that I'm proud of at the end, you know. And I just wanted to show to the world a different kind of solution. It could be with a little bit more attitude, showing, you know, crazy people and doing that, but I enjoy doing that. So at least, even if the client is not buying my idea, at least I'm having fun, you know, during the process. I just wanted to share some wisdom words with you guys. I don't know if you know this guy. I think he's an internee or something, but...
Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. And I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And if the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.
Yeah. No, it's... See? Yeah. I can go deep too. So yeah. So it's your, again, it's your job. It's our job to show to the client these, you know, but we don't need to expect them to like our ideas. We think what we think is right for the project, and it's up to them to decide if it's good or not, you know, but we're just trying to provide ideas. You know, we just need to treat every project with care, you know, push the client's mind, trying to make the client to see the other way, you know, the fun way. And push yourself, you know, I think it's really important, you know, just trying to get out of your comfort zone, you know, not just be based on trends, just trying to create something that it has some meaning behind of it, you know. I think that's the most important part, just to create meaning stuff, you know. Okay, so, and you don't use red to please the audience, you know. You just do red because you want to create impact, you know, and trust your knowledge. It's a metaphor. Okay, and sometimes, you know, we stumble on clients that they understand your vision and they want to get on board with your madness, you know. And I was very lucky to get to know some incredible clients that trusted my vision, and they allowed me to help them to create some cool stuff. So this first project I want to show you guys, it's for, again, these two projects. The first one, it's for a bourbon that we did. So when you think bourbon, you think something that it's very elegant, classic, you know, live action, night, you know, beautiful stuff, very well shot and everything. And when we did that, I was blew away that they were on board with the pitches, were on board with the direction we went with this. So we just want to share this with you guys.
After a night of hopping from one tiny sushi bar to another in the narrow alleyways of downtown, we stumbled across a door with the number 17 on it. We knocked and it opened. And nervously, we walked inside as the beat of music grew louder, until finally we reached a living room where 9 breakdancers were spinning while 2 jazz trumpeters hooted and tooted in time with the crowd's claps. An untypical night calls for an untypical bourbon.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Maybe because they are untypical. So next one is, it's for a tech company, like when I mentioned earlier that I'm not expecting Google to call me to do a project. They can if they want to. I don't know if there's any Google here, but this client is it's a large tech company, and they invited me to help them to release one of the features that they were putting out in the market. Let's see.
All they'll see is a brilliant idea, not the behind-the-scenes mess created by your on-and-off relationship with doubt. Like those times you argued with yourself and lost. They won't see that one idea that was a product of too much caffeine and shrimp-fried rice. Or the moment you realized doubt wasn't your enemy at all, but a wise old sage. How it pushed you to question complex presentation programs and led you to a tool called Paste. They'll never see how Paste helped translate your idea into slides the world could comprehend. Or how it automatically organized and formatted your idea to let you focus on more important stuff. So when you finally present to your boss's boss, and that client who sits too close to the webcam, all they'll see is a polished, well-articulated idea that looks like it was never doubted for a second. Paste by WeTransfer.
Yeah, I'm really happy when some unusual client, unusual at least, I think I am unusual for them. Anyways, all the way around. When I find these clients that don't have the background to use the artwork that I usually do, when they try to play bold, and they try to get out of the comfort zone and try to create something different and unique. And I love that because that's my life. I always love doing that. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, I think it's really important to find what you want to do. It doesn't need to be something more specific. I think it should be true to yourself. And if you want to do animation, that's cool. If you want to do crazy stuff, do it because this is going to be part of your life. It's your job to do it. So it's really important. Express yourself. I think it's something really important. I don't know if you guys know a guy named Sebas Kuri. He's a really good guy, so shout out to him. He's going to watch this later. So he is a good friend of mine, and we had this deep conversation, and he practically forced me to create stuff outside of the computer, and I was really happy to have this conversation. So I decided to express myself, creating stuff outside of the computer, like painting little statues, creating skate decks, because that's part of my background. So I love, putting artwork in skate decks so much, creating little statues that it's part of my brand, let's say. So either if it's design, illustration, photography, film, animation, 3D, Starbucks, whatever, do it with passion. If it is something that you like, just go out there and do it. I just have to speed up because the time is counting. I want to share something really special with you guys tonight. So when you follow the trend, you stop being fun. If it's done by a studio, it's done. It's worth it to replicate it if you want to learn how they did that, and you can apply that into something else, or evolve that, bring that idea to a next level and apply it to something else. But once you start to replicating just because it's cool, just because it's amazing, they use this color palette, and I'm going to do it for just because it's cool. It's just another drop in the sea, you know. So just trying to apply, get the references you love, you know, and get the reference, you know, break it apart, study that, and how can you bring that thought to the next level and make it your own, you know. So that's something that I would love you guys to try sometime. It's cool. Challenge yourself, learn, you know, a lot of stuff, and most important, don't get caught in the fantasy of only create original art. There's no such thing as original art. To me, originality is passion. So if you're passionate about, your show's going to work that. You know, if you're doing something for real, for a meaning behind, and with your heart, that's going to, you know, people will see that. Passion sells, that's for sure. And now I just want to share something that I created with a buddy of mine, and it's a music video. We had a lot of fun doing this, and this is something that I love doing. It's a little bit different from the stuff that I usually do, but we had a blast, and since we just have like a couple of minutes, just want to share this with you guys. So hope you guys enjoy.
Hey guys, just let me know. Yeah. You all bragging, I brag too. You got a nice car, well I had that too. Used to come to my house, splash in the pool. Hashtag cool, what you asking to do? I never did crack in the back of a coupe. I break out, I dash in a zoom. Jump from the balcony straight to the room. Front flip and grab that cash out the tomb. And on my way out, I throw ash in the womb. I got a mask and a battle axe too. From in the canoe, splash the paddle at you. Relax, chill, watch Mad About You. I was a bad boy. That too. Listen. Keep the attitude weird. I don't have diarrhea unless I'm having a beer. No fear. Left on my tears at the pier. Hope people like me, like Jerry from Cheer. I'm a rascal. Took a little nap in a rascal. Defund the cops. They're all bad apples. Holy mackerels. The map to the castle. I'm in the woods with a bat and a jackal. Listen. Said I don't be. I said. On a road trip, yeah, we stopped by Rhonda. I got chimichanga in my pajamas. I kinda wanna learn the bongas. I mean, bongos, bounce like Rondo. The last girl want me to blindfold. The new one wanna live in the condo. She keep her feet on the console. As for me, try to stay free like Han Solo. Listen. The millennium go quick, I got issues, yeah, plenty of those shits. Beats like Kenny, what's the vendetti? I stay geek like Forrest did Jenny. We need money, jokes got many. My girl Bendy, back of the century. Freak on, yeah, talking Nissan. Dog no leash on, mission like recon. I got Black Pit, you got Bijan. I keep calm like the poster. I'm up and down like a roller coaster. Fly like a vulture, kinda keep kosher. You're the type of guy with no shirt with a bootleg copy of Joe Dirt. You so bogus, the cargo coated. If you ain't noticed an asset, you go fish. Or Uno, the beat by Bruno. Lou, you know, big like sumo. If you could beat me, I'll give you your kudos. But in the meantime, here to let you know, I put an end to your sentence, punto. I go hard like the kids at Juco. I'm so buca de Beppo. I wake up, I say, let's go sick like strep throat. Let go my ego, unless you want your leg, bro. More sauce than Prego. No babies, grew up in the 80s. Got ADHD and wash. I'll do the nay-nay, I'll do the whop and Dougie. The peel off in a little buggy. Don't like gummies, I got a little tummy. The kid like Cuddy, never been a druggie. Humbug got bounce like bunnies. I got a little buddy, the nose stay runny. It's just a cold, bounce like toes. Comma got loads, I'm out like ghosts. I'm the prophet like Job, smooth and steady like I'm docking a boat. I give you something, shocking a quote like, yo, let me put my... Stop it.
Beautiful, I liked it. It was a gorgeous one.
Yeah, it's cool. Thank you so much, guys. Obrigado. Thank you.